Hello and welcome to Brighton Montessori. I'm Leanne Chamberlain, the owner of our school. I'd like to take you today on a virtual tour of our school so that you get an inside glimpse of what our Montessori program here is from birth through kindergarten. So come along with me. Let's go inside of one of our infant classrooms here, which houses children 6 weeks to 16 months. I'd like to take you inside to show you what a true Montessori environment looks like for our youngest students. In our infant community, our teachers really focus on the children who are 6 weeks to 16 months, meeting their needs on demand, as well as continue progressing them into their toddler schedule so that they are fully prepared for when they transition out into our toddler classroom at 16 months. In our environment here, we have a lot of natural wood materials. The kids are working with Sensorial, a lot of different textures that they can orally feel as well as tactilely feel. If you notice, there's nothing in our classroom that restricts the young child from freedom of movement. Montessori is really big in movement. We want the young child who isn't quite ready to roll over yet to still have the ability to explore their environment. So we're putting them on a natural floor bed for them to have an opportunity to explore something that their teacher has provided them. But those that are crawling and rolling over and beginning to walk, we want them to be able to do that whenever they feel. So we are not going to put them in an exercise or a bouncy seat or swing. Everything is low to the ground, very accessible to the children. Even our tables during mealtime are low to the ground. The young infant, older toddler can walk and easily pull the chair out and be able to sit in so that they feel empowered and have that confidence to try to do for themselves, which we also encourage a lot of that at mealtime, especially when a child is beginning to transition from being spoon-fed into more table foods that they can pick up using and practice using their pincer grasps. We do eating and sleeping on demand, so our teachers will meet with you prior to starting to know your child's schedule. We will follow that accordingly and work with you as they change their routine. Every young child has their own crib. Once they get into the toddler age, we start preparing them for nap time in the toddler room and get them transitioned from a crib to a cot. So we always want to make sure that we're preparing the child for what's to come next in an environment that they've been really engaged in for a long time with their caregivers and teachers. And so it works best when we have that in their current classroom and help them get ready to transition out. Everything is stored in the fridge for this age group. And we do a live parent app so you can get up-to-date information on a diaper change, a feeding, when your child's down for a nap or has woken up. That also is part of our program, is a digital daily app for our parents to be able to see that. And it's also another communication tool that we have for our families to be able to communicate with their lead teacher. If there's a change in a pickup, or the teacher might want to message you in regards to something really cool that they captured your child doing throughout the day and want to send that picture over to you. In our infant communities, our teachers really strive at meeting their students' needs. From an infant that is 6 weeks old to an infant that is 16 months old. And the nice thing is that the reason why we have a mixed age group in an infant classroom is that even a child at 3 months old is having a role model in the classroom. A 15-month-old who's walking and starting to repeat words, making new sounds. That 3-month-old's mind is just soaking it all in. And so our environment really lends itself to that. Our teachers carefully prepare the infant environment so that a young child who's learning how to hold an item for the first time has several different rattles to learn how to hold, from something a lot larger to something smaller and different sound. To an older infant, who can now start doing puzzles and has more of a whole hand grasp, and that's starting to practicing their pincer grasp at the table during self-feeding. They're able to practice that too during their work time. A lot of our materials here are natural wood. We want the children to see the items and not have something loud and that doesn't allow them to take away what their mind is seeing the image as. A lot of language development is going on. The teachers are talking to their students throughout the day, from the time they get a diaper change and talking to them, making that connection. We're big on relationship building. We're big on connection. And we're big on making sure that the children feel safe. We really protect our infant community. The parents drop off at the door, and so that our environment stays clean. And we allow the children to feel safe. Many of them begin to feel some separation from mom and dad, and so we want to protect their trust in their environment. And so our teachers really strive each and every day to work really hard with their students to meet their needs, to build a trusting relationship, and to create that home-like atmosphere. So we'd love for you to join our infant community. If you have any questions or want to come in and personally see our environment in action, you may do so. We invite you to come in and get a real glimpse into our school community. So being a Montessori school, we have a lot of natural wood materials, and health and safety for our students and our staff is our #1 priority. Here we have a Zono machine. It's actually a sanitizing cabinet that all of our teachers use on a daily basis. From our infants who are very oral, this is just another layer of sanitizing that we do to make sure that the materials that are in their environment are as clean as possible. To our pre-primary students who are working with materials every day and it has a lot of different hands touching them, we want to make sure that those materials stay clean and sanitized as well. So every day our teachers take the cart to their classroom, load up their items, anything from crayons, markers, plastic materials, wood materials, boppy pillows, cots, whatever it is that they want to sanitize. We take it, wheel it into the Zono machine, which uses ozone. So it's actually using oxygen, which helps us eliminate the use of harsh chemicals here at our school. And it's cleaning everything and sanitizing everything from the inside out, our porous materials and non-porous materials. So we're as effective as we can in keeping our students and our staff as healthy as possible. Welcome to our Toddler Community Classroom. Here is students that are 16 months to 3 years of age. Once again, we do the mixed age group for several reasons. One of them is, once again, they have role models in the classroom. A 16-month-old who's just, toddling around is in a classroom with a student who has very strong gross motor skills. And language development. A 16-month-old's language isn't as vast as a student who's 3 years old and stringing sentences together and having a conversation with their peers and their teachers. And so a 16-month-old and 18-month-old is really soaking in all that great language and conversation that the students are having, as well as a student who's almost 3 years of age gets to be the helper and help a young child at 16 months old put their coat on or get their shoes on to get ready to go outside. Maybe even help them clean up from snack or lunch and help them wash their dishes. It gives them that sense of purpose and belonging in the classroom, as well as a 16-month-old learns to start developing a relationship with peers, other than just their teachers and their parents, but having someone who is a little bit taller than them, really helping them. This classroom is where we really help you with Toilet learning, that's one of the big things that young children at this age need to master. And so we really partner with you when it comes time for that. And we start that even in our infant room, the toilet learning process of children who are steady on their feet. We diaper them standing up. So they start to become part of the process of going to get their diapers and wipes and preparing for that diaper change. And eventually, they see their students in the classroom using the bathroom on their own, or a teacher giving a gentle reminder to a friend that it's time to use the toilet. And they're hearing that and seeing that. They also want to do that. And so it's really a nice connection for them to have that at school with friends, as well as partnering at home with building it into the routine. And our teachers do a wonderful job of working with families when their child is ready. Another big thing is that children love to be independent, and so we want to do that. And if you notice, the environment has everything once again to the child's level. Now everything's a little bit taller than in our infant classroom because the children are taller. They are more mobile, so now they're really having things on the shelf that is on trays. A lot of times the children will learn to carry the tray to a table or to a rug, and this is preparing them for what's to come in our 3 to 6 year old classroom. And things start to get a little bit more complex, so this work might be for an older student where they're learning how to sort by color, and so there's a variety of different colors, and instead of saying today we're going to learn the color red, we just casually bring it into their everyday life. So a teacher might say, oh, here's a yellow bowl. Can you find something yellow in the bowl to put in there? And the child finds it and, oh, you're right, there's yellow. And so we're really building language this way for the child. We're really helping them make connections to what they see in real life, to a purpose and meaning behind it. So now the materials in the classroom lends itself to language development, to organization, and to still that creativity. The children also go outside twice a day in the toddler classroom. That they nap in their classroom after lunch on cots, and so they have that time to just relax. And once again, this is their community. The parents drop off at the door, and the students walk in, hang up their belongings, and get to go right to work. It's a really fun, active learning environment, but there's a lot of purpose going on, which is really fun to see. So toddlers really help become part of their everyday routine in the classroom. So during mealtime, the students are encouraged to help set their own table. And this really gives them some guidance. So taking placemats, cut them in half so their little hands can carry them very easily, and helps define their space at the table. Our teachers do a wonderful job of making sure that everything is visual for a child as they're learning. And that's a nice thing about a Montessori environment, is it really lends itself to any kind of learner. Someone who's very tactile, someone who's auditory, someone who's visual, all that's going on in an environment. So the young child can come and set their own table and be successful at it. And everything is right here, ready for them to take to the table. And the really fun thing is that the older kids already know how to do all this, while a younger child might take the placemat and then go and wander away. But that older student is going to continue setting the table for their friends. We practice drinking out of real glasses in our infant room. Even in our infant room, they're using real bowls and silverware. We want to continue that in our toddler classroom so that the kids really have mealtime at home with mom and dad. It's the same mealtime they're having here. When the children are done with their meal, they begin to wash their own dishes and put their dishes in the sink so that the teachers can do it later on. But they know the process from start to finish. And you'll find that at home, many of our families tell us that the students one thing that they notice is the language development that really explodes, as well as the independence and wanting to do for themselves. And it starts at mealtime. They learn to want to go get their own fork out of the drawer. They learn to carry their own plate to the sink, because that is built into their daily routine here at school, and it gives them that helpfulness of I'm helping my community around me. And that's something that we really encourage in our classroom, from a work on the shelf that they help put it away, to mealtime, to learning to use the bathroom, and the sequential steps to that. Children learn all that, and so that it carries over with them from 16 months old to adulthood. And so that's what our environment really lends itself. And the nice thing is that kids have their peers to look at and their peers to help. And so it's a beautiful environment. It's very enriching. And we encourage our kids to do for themselves as much as they can, and know that we are here for them. And that's where that really safety net is, and giving them the confidence to try on their own. And so we love it. We love to see when our kids are successful. We love to be part of when they're starting out and growing from there into that confident individual who's ready for preschool. And that's what this environment lends itself to. So I encourage all of you to come in and tour our school with the children here, but this gives you an inside glimpse of what a natural wood environment for young children looks like. We want the children to feel like they're at home when they come to school. We want the children to be connecting with their teachers and with their friends. And so with 12 toddlers in the classroom and 3 teachers, it really allows the young child to build that confidence and that security that they long for. We understand at Brighton Montessori that it is really important for us to have open communication with our families. One of our core values is partnership. And so we have a digital daily app through Kangaroo Time that all parents receive access to when they enroll here at our school. And the nice thing is that you get live feed as far as your infant and toddler, whether they've had a diaper change, their meal, nap time, and it's also a nice communication tool throughout the day that you and your child's teacher can communicate back and forth through our text messaging system. Parents are able to have pictures sent to them, as well as it's a communication tool that we use as a whole school to connect with our families for any important information that we need to send out. So our teachers really make sure that they are keeping up to date with this Kangaroo Time app, so that way you know exactly what's going on in your child's day at school. In a 3 to 6 year old classroom, this is now where formal academics take place. All of our lead teachers here at Brighton Montessori are trained in the Montessori philosophy and have worked in a Montessori environment. The teachers really design the classroom to meet the children's needs. Once again, we're talking about independence. We're talking about taking the initiative in their learning. We have several different Montessori materials that she designed over 100 years ago. The philosophy's been around for decades, and it's still around because it's one that works. We're really working with the children with hands-on learning. So they get to see their learning, they get to feel their learning, they get to hear their learning. So we're meeting any child's learning styles. One big thing is that we talk a lot about peer conflict resolution and how to do that peacefully, how to do it with empathy. And we have a peace curriculum that when children are having a little conflict amongst each other, the teacher encourages them to come over and helps mediate the conversation so that the children resolve the issue together. We want them to be successful now and help coach them through how to have a conversation with someone when someone's hurt their feelings, or someone's taken something from them, or someone doesn't make them feel like they belong. So that the children grow up very confident to continue to stand up for themselves when they know that they've been hurt. And so we have our peace curriculum that we talk a lot about that beginning of the school year, and the kids really feel involved in helping make someone feel better and helping people understand what they didn't like, and sometimes just giving them that guidance and that direction really helps the children understand that my actions have consequences. And so we really foster that in our classroom environment here. The children are guided over here with a teacher, and they're given the peace rose, and the whole point of the peace rose is that who's ever holding it gets to speak. It's their turn to talk and share their feelings, share their thoughts, while the other one is listening. And then when they're done, they pass it along, and the child that was doing the listening now gets to talk and understand and either find a way to help resolve the problem. So it's working as a conversation piece to help rectify a conflict very peacefully, and so that the children begin to understand that even though I've made a mistake, I can fix it, and even though I was hurt, people do listen to me, and now I do feel better. So our peace curriculum really helps with that understanding of conflict resolution and knowing that I can be heard, I'm listened to, and I can take action on how to help the situation. One of the foundational pieces in a Montessori classroom is practical life. We actually do practical life from infancy to toddlers to now 3 to 6. Practical life is just teaching young children everyday living skills. So for an infant, it's teaching them how to self-feed. It's learning how to wash your hands. In toddlers, it's learning how to wipe your nose and put your shoes on and your coat on. Those are real life practical experiences. In our pre-primary classroom, the students are still learning those things, but now we're taking that learning and we're bringing it to works on the shelf that are very attractive to the young child, because we want to develop their concentration. We want them to develop their sense of order, their independence. And so an activity might be where a young child is learning how to pour, and they're learning how to carry a tray to the table. They're pouring whatever items are in the vessels back and forth. And they're doing it until they feel complete, and then they can return it to the shelf. And that's the nice thing about a Montessori environment, is that it's not where teachers are coming in and setting up the works, and the students only can do those works on a rotation basis. They can come in, a student can come right to practical life and work in practical life until they feel filled, and then they can move into a math lesson. The nice thing about a Montessori environment is that it's like an office feel. You know, I always tell parents that when you go to work every day and you know what you have to get done, and it doesn't always matter the order of how your checklist of items needs to get done, as long as it's done at the end of the day. And the same thing with the Montessori environment, is that there are students that are working at tables or rugs, but the nice thing is that everything in the classroom is very purposeful and designed for the children to be successful. If they have a spill, several times throughout the year, the teachers will actually put water on the shelves for the children to learn to pour and scoop and squeeze. And if there's a spill, it's okay. They have the materials they need to clean it up, be successful, and it actually teaches them, like, oops, sorry, next time we have to try a little bit more carefully. And they learn that on their own without a teacher telling them. The teacher just has the stuff there, knowing that a spill could happen. And the child can independently and successfully clean it up and continue on. And it's just giving them that ability to understand that accidents are going to happen and it's okay. We have stuff to help take care of that. And so that's a really nice thing. So practical life is really a foundational piece in our classroom. Another foundational piece is sensorial. Another foundational piece in our classroom is sensorial. Sensorial is really developing the child's 5 senses through the materials on the shelf. It's also preparing a young child for their mathematical mind. Everything in sensorial is in a set of 10. So a young child at the age of 3 is learning how to grade various sizes using a material like this called the knob cylinders. But what also they're learning is the base of 10 for everything. And so without a lot of our materials in our classroom have more than one meaning behind it. And so it's also a really good pre-writing work because the children are using their pincer graphs, which they need later on for writing. So they're holding the knobs one at a time. They're building their hand-eye coordination. One cylinder can only fit in one of the vessels. It's developing language. So a lot is going on in one material for a young child. And the really nice thing to see is that a young 3-year-old walking in the classroom, this is a challenging work for them. But as they repeat and come back to the material and practice again, they get better and better each time. And before you know it, they have successfully completed the work. Our teachers are always encouraging the students to repeat. And the nice thing is that if a young child is able to do something, we're continuing progressing them along. No 2 children are on the same learning curve in our classroom environments, which is really fun for us teachers because we get to meet the child where we're at and we get to help be part of their growth along the way. And so that's the real beauty of our classroom is that we get to help our students become the individuals that they already are. We're just helping them strengthen it and gain that confidence in it. So in math, the young students are learning numbers. They're learning number recognition, once again, very tactilely through sandpaper numbers. Eventually, we're going to take their numerals and we're going to add quantity to it, and they get to count. Once they become successful at that, we're going to progress them along and refine their counting skills. We're going to start adding in numeric equations. We're going to start adding in the decimal system and learning place value of thousands, tens, and hundreds. And we do that very, very concretely. Young children are learning to count 1 through 10 through objects that they can concretely see. Through our spindle box is one great example that young children really enjoy. They're successful at it knowing that there's enough spindles in the basket to coordinate with our numbers on our boxes. Eventually, we'll get even into smaller counting objects through beads. And they get to learn color association to the beads for later on in their math curriculum. The decimal system, they're learning thousands and a cube. They're learning hundreds and a square. They're learning tens through a 10 bar. And they're learning a unit through a bead. And they can concretely see how thousands are very large quantity where 1 is a very small quantity. So they really get to feel it, they get to see it, and that's how they get to know it. So it stays with them from the time that they're learning this on through their elementary years. And you'll find a lot of things in our Montessori environments actually end up in elementary Montessori schools as well. Because it doesn't, the learning for a child doesn't change. It's just the concepts get bigger. So they still have the materials to help them learn, which is really fun for a child. Our language curriculum is designed for children to be successful in matching and in sequencing, which is all the foundation for reading. Eventually they get into sandpaper letters, and we divide them up into sets. So very tactilely the children learn the sounds of a letter. So a teacher would show them that this is, and they trace. Eventually they'll move into object matching. So the teacher will have objects in a basket that coordinate with the sound. And so they have hat. Hat begins with, and so it's really teaching them the sequence of reading. So when they get to reading a book, if they get to a word that they don't know, they can sound it out and be successful. So we understand the concept of language and that it's a sequential order, so that the students are learning their sounds, their beginning sounds, and then we move into middle sounds and ending sounds. And then before we know it, a young child can get out the movable alphabet box. And from here, they get to build words in order to then read the words. And they do it in self-isolation. So a teacher's giving a child the word hat. They can find the a, and they can find t, and successfully build out the word hat. So everything that we teach in our pre-primary classroom is a sequential order. We want children to be successful before they move on to the next lesson. And the nice thing is that the teachers can take the children along the classroom and show them, this is where you are working, this is the lesson you want next, these are the ones you have to do in between, so that you can get there. Because we want to set a student up for success. But it's also nice because the children get to be in an environment where there are kids that are reading. There are kids that are, doing math equations. There are students who are building with several different materials. And they all get to participate in some way, either through observation, maybe it's through being a helper, or it's just the fact that they walked past a child who was talking with the teacher about a lesson that they're being given, and it sparked that one child's interest, and they get to be part of that conversation as well. And so our environment really lends itself to just letting the kids truly grow and develop at their own pace without worrying about trying to get to an end result. If you know that this is an environment that you've been looking for your child to be able to grow and learn at their own pace, along with building strong relationships with their peers and with their teachers, we encourage you to come in for a tour, see our classrooms in action, meet our teachers, and just really absorb what our true Montessori environment would do for your child. We look forward to seeing you real soon.